I'm now going to introduce you to FireAlpaca, which is a graphics drawing application. It contains a range of tools and some really good processes that you can use with some of these brushes. I'm actually getting pretty used to using it now. So these are some of the images that I've created using some of the shapes, some of the paths and the brushes. We've got that one that's a lot more detail to it. I've got this nice floral image and a graphic style image and a meadow, so a painting that I've done. So to start with, if you go to File and New, and I'm just going to choose a 2450 width and 1800 height in pixels, and then I'm just going to press OK. So it gives me this size. So to start with, on the layer 1, I'm just going to rename it. So I'm going to call this background because it's going to be the background layer. Press OK, and then I'm going to use the paint bucket tool and select white to give a white background. I'm then going to create a new layer, and I'm going to experiment on this layer with different pens. So just show you which one does which brush stroke. So to start with, if I choose the pen tool in the toolbox, it will give me these different path options that I could choose from. So for example, if I choose the circle snap and I choose the pen fade in, fade out, you can move it around, you know, wherever you want it. Select it there. Oh, just need to change my colour, my brush colour. Then you can just draw perfect circles. It's absolutely brilliant. You can keep going and going. I find it really therapeutic, you know, doing this repetitive brush stroke. And so on. And then you can add filters on there. So if I select a line, for example, you can then experiment with this. So you can see how I did the eye one now, but probably add, you know, that add more lines and strokes in it. Let's give it more detail. You can experiment with that to see what you think and how you get on with it. Okay, so that's something to look at. If we just start it again. So experiment. We've got all different styles of these that you can choose from. I'm just going to select off. I just want a blank canvas. And what I'd like to see you doing is just experimenting with what all these different pen tools can do. Like the airbrush tool, for example. If you choose the airbrush tool, you can then start experimenting with, you know, how strong you want the brush to be. So if I choose quite a large brush, this is really good, you know, for starting off with your backgrounds. create some clouds, cloudy day. And if you increase your strength, obviously you're going to get a stronger colour coming through. You've got an eraser there, so not, you know, anything that you need to undo, obviously increase the size, and then you can erase everything out. There we go. So go over it a few times. So experiment with all the different tools that you can use. I've also got these FireAlpaca brushes, which is the actual logo, and some of these brushes are really good, like the leaf brushes. You know, you can increase or decrease the scatter on your brushes, the particle size, whether you want it small or large, how random you want the particles to be, you know, etc. Experiment with these, just practice, see what you can do. Just increase it, obviously you're going to get a different effect from even just choosing your size of your brush. We've got stars in there. We've got this symmetry rotate brush. It does something like that. If you do something, you know, you can create it across multiple points. So that's really interesting to experiment with. Create some really interesting patterns with something like this. Okay, just go through them all. The stalk ones are quite interesting as well. And if you do just doing, you know, just what you're drawing, just normal animations, you know, a lot of people tend to just use one pen, you know, one tool. Experiment with all these, because it's surprising what you can actually do with them. If we just look at this one, for example, that was done using a curve snap. And what I did is I created my own paths, and then I used the pen fade in, fade out to add the lines, to give these nice points at the end as well. And for this one I used, which one did I use now? It was I think that one. Yes, I used the circle, and then I drew the lines across, numerous lines. And then I used I applied the filter. I applied the concentrated line filter, and then I added more lines to it, and then I added the circle in the middle to make it like an eye. With the garden FireAlpaca, I used mainly the stalk brush, and I used the leaf 2 brush. And what I did is I just experimented. I even used the leaf 2 brush on the flowers as well, and I just experimented with changing the colours, changing the sizes, the shapes, and you know, to give it different effects, so it didn't look like I was using the same brush over and over. So it just shows what you can do even just with one brush. But yeah, I still feel there's a bit more I could do to that. I don't know, maybe blurring it or maybe blending it. You know, think about your blending, think about blending your colours together. If we just look here, we've got this smudge tool here. You know, maybe could I smudge a few in, you know, to make it, to blend it better. This is what you have to think about. I can also blur it if I wanted. Which gives it, you know, gives it some depth to it. You know, you could consider like your depth of field. Maybe if you've got just something in the middle that you want to focus on, and you know, you could blur everything else out using this tool. You know, if you consider photography and now you consider your depth of field in photography, you know, it's not dissimilar. But do think about, you know, blending colours together, contrasting colours, so you haven't all got, you know, the same colour. You've got tones in there. It just gives it some interest. I think the blurring has actually enhanced it. Okay, and then we've got this one, which was done using this path tool. Which one was it now? It was one of these that I used, and I just moved it about. Okay, and then I created this meadow pick. Used a range of tools there, so you can see here where I've used the leaves, for the leaves on the trees. I've actually used it for the grass. I've used the airbrush tool to create the background, and use a smudge tool to blend these colours together at the back. So used 3 different colours there. Use the smudge tool and the blur tool just to blend them together. I think a bit of blur on this is gonna make it more interesting. It just blends it all together. It doesn't. And yeah, don't forget to. And this is a bitmap that I've brought in from FireAlpaca on another device, but this had numerous layers. It had 3 layers to it, but exporting it as a bitmap has lost its layers. So don't forget to everything that you want to stand out, everything that's on the top needs to be on the top layer. So you need to make sure that you layer everything separately. I think what I like about this is like the way some of these, you know, like these flowers stand a bit taller than others, but they added them fairly quick as well. So I could have, you know, added more detail in, but I've not used FireAlpaca a lot, and so I'm really getting used to it. I actually like it. But yeah, I could use this. I can use this. I'm trying to think if there's anything else that is really important to tell you. So you've got your layers. Don't forget your layer opacity is at the top here. So if you wanted to take your layer opacity down, you can do. That's why it's a good idea to layer everything. So really experiment with all these tools, and you know, change your colours. Don't forget your blending, your highlights. You've got low lights. Consider your lighting and experiment. And as I always say, have fun.